Hey everyone, welcome to another video on this channel. I thought I could sit down, do a quick get ready with me as I'm doing my makeup and tell you about my most recent trip that I did to London. So let me just get to it. And the reason why I wanted to do this get ready with me style is because I popped this picture up on my community tab over on my other channel and people were interested in seeing what I had in my travel makeup bag. Now I know this channel isn't makeup related, but I already have so many other videos planned for the other channel that I can't fit the thing there. And I had initially conceptualized this video going up as a vlog, but then right before I left, I was like, you know what, this is my first real trip since, you know, in a couple of years. I was like, I don't want to have to spend like time thinking of making things look pretty and like going to places just because it will fit into a vlog. And I was like, I just want to live my best life. So I decided not to vlog, but I thought I could do a chatty get ready with me instead, telling you about the trip that I took, also sprinkle in some solo travel tips as we're go along the video, and I'm just going to be doing my makeup with the products that I used as I was traveling, and then I can start putting things away. So that's it's sort of like a 3-in-1. It's like travel tips, it's London travel tips, and it's a get ready with me. So it's not too makeup related. I'm not going to spend any moment of time really talking about the makeup. I'll just make sure I put everything in the description box down below, but you can't see everything going on. So that's what I have for you today. So tip number 1, when you're traveling, take your makeup in a makeup bag. So what I have in here are some things that were like already like part of what I was already using as part of my daily makeup routine. But especially when I travel, I like to take like little minis. This is like a sample that I got from Joe Malone a couple of years ago, so I love taking that. I really like taking like a mini baby primer like this MAC one, and like things that are easy to carry, like a foundation in a tube rather than a glass bottle. So I make choices like that, and I'm not someone who goes on a trip to like look pretty and do makeup. I'm there to see the sights and enjoy the food and everything else that's going on. So I don't really focus on the makeup. So I tend to take a very minimal amount, and you know, enough that I have some options and I can have a bit of fun, but I'm not really going to spend a lot of time doing my makeup. In fact, I think there was one day where I didn't even do any makeup at all because I knew I was going to be out all day, and I knew I just had to reapply sunscreen for it because it was a hot day as well, and because I was very lucky. I got some really nice weather. So in the end, the makeup that's in here, it all got used. I think I used everything here, but there was definitely also a day where I was just like, screw this, I'm going home today. I don't need to look pretty for anyone. So that's why that's what was going on. So I will show you some of the options that I'm not using in today's makeup look, and I will also be using the brushes that I took with me to travel. Now, when I showed this picture, I got a comment saying, wow, that's a lot of brushes. But the thing is, what happens to my brushes is that whenever I travel, or whenever I've tried a brush that I like okay, but that I'm not a huge fan of for my day-to-day selection, you could say, then it gets chucked into the travel makeup bag. So since I haven't been traveling much, I hadn't used these a whole lot. So I decided to take this trip as an opportunity to just try some things out to see if I'd actually use it. And then when I do my annual declutter in the springtime, I'm just gonna have to include a video where I'm going to be showing you what brushes I keep and which ones I don't. And because it's a thing, it's a whole thing. So I definitely have too many travel makeup brushes at the moment. I'm very well aware, but yeah, it's just the way things go. Let me see, I'm now missing a brush. Where did it go? Oh, there is it. There it is. So yeah, there's far too many brushes in my little pouch here, and most of these are, you know, nice enough brushes, but that I know I won't reach for on a day-to-day basis. And as you will see with the look I'm doing today, I'm mainly going to be using fingers for my eyeshadow and stuff. So let's start with lip balm, because we need to keep those lips hydrated. I did take a couple of actual lip options with me. And I actually, the first day of my trip, I didn't leave until like later in the afternoon, so I actually got to do my makeup at home that day. And then I was just able to, you know, go about my day as I would normally. So I actually just like put my makeup bag together like very last minute. Shall we also use the perfume I use? So this is one of my favorite ones from Jo Malone. This is English Oak and Hazelnut. So yeah, I went to London by train. I took the train, the Eurostar train, which leaves right from Rotterdam. And it's been so convenient now that they're actually running trains directly from the Netherlands to England. That wasn't the case the last time I took a train to London. Then you had to stop over at Brussels because there was no customs to check your passport in the Netherlands. So that's why I had to change trains in Brussels, which, you know, was a bit of a pain. Took some extra time. But now that we have this direct train going on, you're even in, it takes about 3.5 hours to take you to central London. So from Rotterdam to St. Pancras is like 3 hours and 40 minutes or so. So that's a pretty good thing. So I actually booked the ticket on a deal. So the Dutch railways every year in the springtime, they seem to be having some discounts for some of the international trains. And I was able to book myself on one of those trains. So it was less than 100 euros for a round trip, which is about as expensive as if you were to fly, depending on the airline you take, of course. But, you know, if you also have to travel from one of the airports into central London, and you also have to take into account that you have to travel to the airport, you know, just, it saves time, money, and effort in the end. So I think that when push comes to shove, it comes down to roughly the same amount of time and money that you would have to spend that way. So I was very happy with that. And I booked a hotel, which was the same hotel I've stayed in before. And that's not because I didn't want to stay anywhere else. It's just whenever I look up hotels in London, this is the one that comes up as the one that is like fitting within my budget, but in a really good location. It's called the Wardonia Hotel, and it's literally a stone's throw away from St. Pancras and King's Cross Station. So a lot of like tube lines stop there. It's got the Northern Line, Piccadilly Line, all of that. So it's a very easy to travel location. And because you're right next to the train station as well, you're literally, you know, from the train to your hotel in 10 minutes, and you don't have to lug your bags through central London on the tube, which I think is very helpful. So that's why I tend to always go for this one. The only downside to the place is that they don't serve breakfast in the morning. But then again, I have stayed in places where they do serve breakfast, and then you often can only get breakfast until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And a lot of things don't open until 10. So then I feel you're out and about a little too early, unless, you know, first go for breakfast and then get ready, which I also don't love. So I don't mind having no breakfast option there, because there are so many places to eat around that area, because there's a lot of commuter, like sort of coffee shops and things like that in that area, because it's such a central location. So you can always grab a coffee and like something to eat in the morning, and it's super easy that way. So yeah, the hotel was great again, like it has always been, because I just really like they also do single rooms. I was going by myself, in case you were wondering. So I very often will travel by myself, because I just feel you get a much fuller experience. I mean, you can just go and do whatever you want, whenever you want it. When you're tired, you go and sit down, and there's nobody else you really have to take into account. I do like to plan a couple of things in advance so that I have a purpose to every day that I'm traveling. But it's good to have also like a day where you have no plans, so you can just like do some shopping, or, you know, just have a chill day where you're not rushed by timetables or something like that. But I do like having a plan. So my plan in advance was to do a tour with London Walks, which is, you know, one of my favorite things to do whenever I'm in London. Their website is walks.com. I think the walk I went on was one I've done before, but it was really lovely. They're all professional tour guides that take you around London, and you can just book whichever one you want. Now they do have a booking system, but before it was just like show up, pay, and you go along on the walk. So you can just find everything on the website And you know, it's a great way to spend some time, and they always show you things that you wouldn't have found by yourself. So you would never ever have found certain, like, I don't know, courtyards and like alleyways, and they will always like show you little tidbits and things that you would just don't find yourself. So that's one of the things I always like to do. So that was the first thing on my itinerary. Once I arrived, I had some dinner, and then I went on a London walk, and I did the Ghost Tour, one that they'd run on Saturday nights, and it was really lovely. So that's always a great time to spend a couple of hours. And then on Sunday, I always try to, whenever I go to London, I always try to make sure I have a Sunday in there, because on Sundays there's this whole, I think it's no longer just on Sundays, but it used to be like Sundays only once a month, I believe. But there's this whole area in the east in London, so from Spitalfields Market all the way to like Brick Lane, there's this entire area filled with food markets and vintage shops and all that. So it's a great day to just walk around and browse and sample all the food. That's definitely what I did that day. And, you know, browse some shops. There's like record stores in that area, a really cute bookshop. There's just so many like good coffee places there as well. So it's just a great place to just like have a mooch and walk around. And then this time, for the first time ever, I actually also did a dance evening. So I've been doing like swing dance, Lindy Hop ever since I moved to Rotterdam. And because of everything shutting down, I didn't have the opportunity to really dance anywhere outside of my own town. And so I went to see what was on Facebook, and then I found that there was a dance evening on in East London, like right by Liverpool Street Station, which was great. So I was going to be in that area anyway, so I got a ticket and I had fun. There was a live band. And it's great to like dance with some other people and just see what the culture is like and what everybody's doing there. So that was really, really fun. So I did that, but that did mean that I needed to make sure I had the energy left at the end of the day to do a lot of dancing. So I definitely didn't like walk around as much as I normally would. I definitely sat down a lot, had some coffee here, went for a donut there, etc., etc. I was living my best life for sure. Then Monday rolled around, and on Monday I actually had the most things planned. And the first thing I had planned months in advance, because I got myself a ticket to see Hamilton finally. That had been on my wish list for a while, but tickets were either super expensive or they were really impossible to just get a hold of. I tried in New York in 2019, but I didn't want to pay $200 for a ticket. So I went to see it now. Apparently, together with The Cursed Child, Hamilton is actually one of the things they've kind of discounted at the moment, just to make sure people go back to the theaters. So I think, you know, that was great for me. So I did that Monday night, and it was lovely. It was everything I had expected and more. I mean, I'm a sucker for American history. So to get this take on it, and then the music, and it was really, really funny, and it was just really, really great. I had a great time, and it was in a beautiful theater, and it was a little bit out of the way though. It wasn't like on proper West End, like it wasn't around like Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus area, but it was more around like Victoria Station, in case you're familiar with London. So that was my nighttime program that day. And then I had actually a other plan for the morning, because very often what I will do is before I head out to a city like this, I will see if there's any like special exhibits or something like going on in different museums. And I always check to see what the Victoria and Albert Museum has going on. The Victoria and Albert Museum is one of my favorite museums I've ever been to. They have just a lot. It's huge. Every time you go there, you'll find something else. But they are also very good at putting up exhibitions on fashion topics. And this one's about the art of masculinity. So it was about men's fashion through the ages. It was quite curated. It wasn't a very extensive one. I've seen bigger ones there for sure. But I really liked it. It was a good one. Apparently, one of the guards actually told me that it's very popular with like younger girls because there are some outfits there that Harry Styles wore. So they have the dress that Harry Styles wore on the cover of Vogue. So you have all these like One Direction fans, Harry Styles fans, showing up to this exhibit at the Victoria and Albert Museum because they want to see what Harry Styles wore. But they also had some really interesting other things. My favorite outfit that was there was the outfit Billy Porter wore with this like really cool like bejeweled cape. It was that was my favorite outfit there. Nice and over the top, and just good to see, you know, how men's fashion has changed over the years, but also to see where it's sort of heading and what way it seems to be going into. This look at the future, you could say. So yeah, that was fun. And then in between, I kind of just walked around. So I took a walk in Hyde Park. When my feet got tired, I just sat on a bench because it was pretty nice weather. And I just, you know, sat on a bench and read for a while, and then found myself in Harrods and walked around there for a bit. And then I took the tube up to Piccadilly Circus, where I, of course, had to visit Waterstones because, you know, if you are in the city with the largest bookshop in Europe, then you have to visit, you know. That's just the way I live my life. I didn't end up buying anything there, though. I will, on my other channel, I'll show you the bits that I actually bought when I was there. But I didn't buy anything at Waterstones, which I think is a first for me. But nothing really stood out to me, and it's probably because I bought so many books in the past couple of months. So I felt I was pretty good on my book buying, you could say. So I didn't really need anything. So I was like, you know what, am I going to buy a book just for the sake of buying a book? Because I actually already knew what book I wanted to read next, and I knew I had that at home. So was I going to like force myself to read this new book? And I was like, I'm not. And then very quickly it was time for dinner, and I went to see Hamilton. So yeah, that was lovely, and I had a great time doing that. And then on Tuesday, I just went shopping. So one of the reasons why I love going to London is because there are so many brands and places out there that we just don't have here. So I definitely try to focus on those things. So you won't find me going into Zara and H&M because it's something I can get at home much more easily than I do there. So I don't go into those places, but I will check out some other things. I wanted to check out the Cezanne store, but it turned out that it was actually closed while I was there, and it was only going to open back up on my final day. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can squeeze it in, but by that time I was so tired that lugging myself halfway across London just to go to this store wasn't going to be feasible. So yeah, but I tried to visit places that I normally wouldn't be able to find, and most of that is makeup related. So I definitely went, like, I think I started off at Selfridges, and then from there I went to like New Bond Street and Phoenix, and then I went to Liberty and Carnaby Street, and then I had some lovely lunch at Kingly Court. And from there on, I think I went into like the Covent Garden area, and then I walked around there, found some shops there. Glossier is there now. It's the only store they have in Europe, so that's great. For me, that's great. And then for dinner, I actually wanted to go to Dishoom for the first time. I had always seen people like raving about Dishoom, which is this like it's sort of Bombay style food, but a little bit more upscale than that, I think. But it was always a line, and I never felt like getting into that line. I was like, this time I'm going to get into that line. And I'm going to wait, and I'm going to do this thing. And it turned out being well worth it. I actually took home leftovers because I couldn't finish everything, but I wanted to make sure I could sample as much as possible. And it was absolutely delicious. So well worth the wait, and would definitely revisit again. So that was my Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I finally did something super touristy because I went to the Tower of London, which I'd never been to. And it was a pain getting the tickets because I tried booking online, but the website wouldn't accept my credit card, which was weird because everything else was just fine. So I ended up going to the Tower that Sunday because it was going to be in East London anyways. I was like, oh, I might as well just go there first, see if I can buy a ticket. and I could. So I bought a ticket and then did the Tower of London thing, which by the time I left, it got super busy. So I would definitely recommend making sure you book it as early as you can. I booked a ticket for 9:30 on a Wednesday because I was hoping that would like make sure it wasn't super duper busy. And I think that that was clever because it meant I got to roam around for like a good hour, hour and a half before it really got super busy with lots of tours and all that stuff. I was able to just walk into the Crown Jewels and just walk through it. Whereas by the time I finish my tour, that's complimentary to the ticket, I I actually saw a really long line for the Crown Jewels and I was like, that's not worth it because I was not super impressed. It's like one of those things that I still wanted to do, but I'm not very good at being a tourist, to be quite fair. Like, I want to see the sights and I want to do all the things, but in London, I've seen most of the things already, and this was one of those things I just never did because I knew it was going to be busy, and then you have all these groups of people, and you're like, it frustrates me greatly. So then after that, I got to do my own thing again, and I went to Tower Bridge, crossed it, and then I walked from Tower Bridge all the way to the Houses of Parliament, which is a really nice walk along the South Bank. You will see a lot of sights. You see, you know, the skyline of London and all that. You can definitely see some changes in the landscape. There's a lot of places again for food there. I made a detour towards Borough Market where you can get some great food as well. So, and that was pretty much what I did that final day, because by that time my feet were dead and I could no longer move. So I was like, I'll just go back to the hotel, pick up my bags and get in line for my train. And that's what I ended up doing. And then got the train home, which was a little bit delayed. But I ended up having a great time while I was there. And like I said, I will show you the shopping bits that I bought. And as I mentioned, I would also throw in a couple of like solo travel sort of tips. So I've been traveling by myself since I was a teenager. I do travel with family and friends as well, but I really, really enjoy going on trips by myself because I just feel I soak it in a bit more and I can do everything at my own pace. So that's why I definitely prefer it. But my main tip is definitely to, you know, get out there and like talk to people and do things and book some things in advance. Also some social things so that you won't feel that by yourself. And I definitely think that, you know, also just, you know, making sure you have a book with you so you can read something as you're waiting for food. I think that's the like most excruciating part of doing things by yourself is going out for food when everybody's like having fun. And some places don't really know how to deal with solo travelers that way, and they'll like pop you in the corner next to the toilets, which is super annoying. But yeah, it's getting better because I think there are just more people also who are traveling by themselves, and yeah, so that's definitely happening as well. I think that's like the worst part of being a solo traveler is if you go out for a meal and everybody's like, there's a big group of people there, and then you go like, oh. But I make sure I have a book so I can read while I'm waiting for the food. And yeah, very often if I, for instance, take a walk, I'll just like put in my AirPods and like listen to some music or whatever. I usually have no issues with that. And like I said, make sure you have a couple of things on your itinerary pre-planned so that you know you have a reason to get out of that hotel. If that's your issue, just make sure, you know, find a good museum you want to visit. You don't have to pay for a ticket very often, especially if you go to London. Museums are free, so especially if you know it's going to be a rainy day. Granted, then half of London is going to go into a museum, but, you know, that's a great way to spend a day. That's actually what I did, I think, a couple of years ago. I did the Natural History and the National Science Museum back to back. I think I did one the other day and then the other one the other day. There's so many things you can do usually, and just look up some things online, find some tips, and just book some things in advance, and you make sure you have something to do. And then as you're there, you'll just you'll be able to figure things out. And when it comes to London, it's a place I've been to many times before, so I know exactly where I want to go. I know exactly what I want to do when I get there. It's not a new place to me, so I tend to always have a mix of like new things and things I want to go back to. So yeah, it's definitely, I hope 2023 I can manage to go somewhere new again. That's what I hope. Florence is still on the list. Istanbul is on the list. Belfast is on the list. and I really, really, really want to go to Sweden as well. So I don't know yet what kind of trip I'm gonna take, but I definitely want to make sure if I can do something again. Maybe my first trip is going to be like, you know, taking the train to like Denmark and then going across to Sweden, and then from Sweden like do a little bit of Norway. Like I think you can get to Oslo from Sweden pretty easily and then like take a plane back. Something like that. I don't know yet, but that's sort of like, that's the most concrete idea I have so far. Yeah, I love traveling by myself, and it's just a great way to see a lot of places, I feel. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this chatty video. Make sure to check the description box down below if you want to know all the makeup-y bits that were in my travel makeup bag. And then I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!